Hi, Jason.
Hey.
Hi. I'm just combing my hair. It looks a bit of a mess. How are you?
I'm good.
It's good to see you.
Yeah.
Bridget is supposed to be coming on. I'm recording this. So how's things over there and where you are? Are you working?
I work a little bit.
You do?
It's been cut down quite a bit. How about you?
I don't work. I work where I am. Like I work renovating and the house and renovating the gardens and putting food gardens in. That's what I do. So that's it's good. It's worked out well. So do you have to go anywhere for your work or anything?
Yes, I drive for an assisted living company.
Oh, that's right.
So all I do is go drive around to hospitals and clinics and things like that.
Mm-hmm. It must be a good time to be on the road now, hey, with hardly. Yeah,
that's true.
it's good. Bridget said she was going to join us. I sent her the link, but it's up to her. We'll give it a bit of time. And David's not. Yeah.
Well, whatever. Tell me about the group.
Oh, okay. Well, it started with this woman who started. Her name is Alona, and she goes by the name of Orion Nebula. I don't know if you've seen that name.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and she's quite. She's done a lot of things, and she's very dedicated to the resource-based economy. I mean, that's really what she wants to do, and she knows some people overseas who could probably fund it. So we're putting proposals together. There's a guy. She's got a number of people doing this, and they're real movers and shakers. And they've got a technical staff, and they have just put up the website. Still doing it, but
What is the website? Do you know?
yeah, RBE United dot something. I don't know.
.org probably.
Maybe.
Nope.
No. RBE.
It could be anything. I mean, there's a million dots.
Let me try and get it. Yeah, there's a million dots now. One person wants to join the group. Boy, I'm just looking. Gee, I don't know where they put that. Jesus. It's going to take a little bit of.
Whatever. You know.
Here we go. I don't know. I looked at it yesterday, last night, or this morning. I can't see it there. There's a lot of chat to go through. You know. Let's see.
Okay, so they're looking for funding.
Well, what funding for this guy? It's really look. As far as I think I know, because there's a lot of things happening. It's for one of the guys is a robotics. No, he's a. Oh, hang on. Who? See who this is? It said Celine. Hello? Is that you, Bridget? Anyway, she'll come up. One of them is he's an inventor, and he's invented a 3D printer that's scalable, that's can be added on as the needs grow. And it still hasn't been, it's been made, but very much in the prototype stage, and he needs to get that, done. And so we need funding for that, because it's a lot of technological, testing and what have you. So she's going to do that, and but we need a proposal. Hi.
Oh, finally, yes. How are you doing?
Good, Bridget. Bridget, have you met Jason?
Yes, online, yes, on Facebook. We've chatted a little bit already.
Oh, good.
Yes. No, I'm happy to be here, and I would like to understand what is really going on with NumeroSet, and because I've not had a chance to take a look at it. I'm so busy.
Okay. Okay. Well, NumeroSet is a point system based on equal distribution economics. So like money, except it's free and it's distributed equally.
Yeah. Okay.
Well,
And
Jason, that's what I was going to ask you about. How is it distributed equally? What's the process? Is it every month or every 3 months? How does it go?
Whenever someone, so new points are added to the system based on the Fibonacci sequence. You familiar with this symbol?
Yes. Are
yes,
you?
yes,
Yes.
Okay, so
yes, very much.
every time the membership hits a number that's a Fibonacci number, then the amount of numero in circulation increases in a proportional amount for everyone. So if there was 10 people and 100 new numero was going to be issued, then each person would get an additional 10.
Okay,
Oh.
so go on, Bridget.
No. I'm just thinking it's great to link the mathematics of it to the Fibonacci sequence. I'm sure it has it has to be positive, when you do that.
Yeah.
Because I believe very much in sacred geometry. That's why.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, me too. I try to take that into consideration when I put this thing together. Like taking into consideration things like polarities, where the opposites of things happen, and accounting for those things. So yeah, I'm with you totally. I'm a big fan of sacred geometry as well.
It's beautiful, Jason. I didn't know you did it like that. What I'm thinking is when somebody comes into the NumeroSet, network, I guess. So they get issued how many now? How many numeros?
300 right now.
Okay. And that changes how?
And when the membership hits a Fibonacci number, then everyone gets more.
Oh, that's so cool. I love
And then,
that.
so if everyone gets more, we get 300 now. So let's say at the next issuance, then we all have 350. And then when someone new comes in, they get issued 350. So they have the same amount as everyone else.
Okay. So really,
part of the issuance.
So the issuance really depends on the membership numbers, like the membership. That's awesome. Right. That's perfect. Mm-hmm. I want Bridget to hear this, because we just started talking about online, and that is, you said that the reason that the Venus Project and all the those resource-based economy type groups that failed is because they didn't record what they did. Now, how do you want to talk about that one?
Yes, I read something about that on when you were talking, messaging somebody, and yes, I read that. I don't know with who you were talking anymore, but I think definitely there is a lack of transparency at the Venus Project that I don't understand, because they get so much money, and I mean they have so many fans, and I don't know, they get support. So I think they should be a little bit more transparent,
Well, here's my point about that is, if you're going to build some kind of a society, you need a unified process of some sort that defines what that society is. So to put it in real simple terms, take language, for instance. People who are in the same society speak the same language, right? There's a process that makes practical things be able to happen in some kind of logical manner. So that's really what you're looking for, is processes that the group can do as a whole. And one of those processes would be economics. And if you don't have a language process, or if you don't have an economics process, then you're not going to be able to build an organization, because there's no unifying factor that brings people together. So when you have groups like Ubuntu and the Venus Project, Transition Movement, or what have you, none of them want to have an economic system. And in doing that, they become dependent on the only other real economic system that there is, and that's capitalism. And that's why they're always looking for donations.
Mm.
So they just are not able to accept the fact that accounting is required. They want to reject that and think that things are going to happen like purely out of vision manifestation of sorts, without anything external to the individuals that make them a group. You know, like a list of words to make a language. Okay, we're all going to use these words. Now we're a group. Some type of mechanism of exchange, even if it's giving and sharing. What are the specific policies and processes of how that gets done? What is the way you communicate that to someone else? You know, all of that stuff is part of what makes people a culture. So what the RBE group seems to be doing is ignoring the economics part because capitalism's so evil, right? But mixed in with all that evil are some practical aspects that are universal that you want to hold on to, aspects like managing time and resources. And without that, the group can't grow. So that's the case that I'm making about these things.
Interesting. Yeah,
makes a lot of sense.
So if you are interested in some type of an economic process, that's what I do.
So this is do you think that the people behind the council are going to be interested in this? Because I think
we have to talk them into it.
Jason should get a chance.
We have to present it to them and try to convince them that that's the kind of world we're going to. We have to present things and talk about them and you know, and get people on board if they're on board. I think that there's a big chance, because like David Winter is going to talk about this and at the council. Yes, I do think so, Bridget. I think this is the best hope.
Yeah. No, because you know, I'm always I hate asking for money, you know, donations and things like that. Or even I was planning a crowdfunding at some point to put some ads on the net, you know, on the internet, not to start a village or something like that, but, you know, to have the big blitz, like, you know, I would love to put at least 10,000 or 20,000, you know, dollars into advertising for advertising RBE on the internet. And, you know, it feels like, you know, I'm going to eventually do that, but, you know, it takes a lot of energy to think always in terms of dollars, you know.
Oh, yes.
And I would love the system on it, the monetary system to go, of course. But this is, so we will see what happens, and I hope that they will give Jason a chance, because I think it's very interesting, and especially now that I know that it is Fibonacci has something to do. So I think it has a good soul. You know, the project has a good soul. Yeah.
Well, thanks. I appreciate that.
Yes.
So Jason, so what do you say? We just log time just the way we log time for a job, like, you know, the time that we do. And how would you log it? Like, just log it in NumeroSet and just say a little bit. We say a little bit about it. Yeah.
Well, why don't we do this? Let's see. I don't have that ready. I was just gonna. So you would. It functions just like money. If you were doing a transaction online, you fill out the form, you click transfer, and the points from your account transfer to someone else's account, and you're just managing time and resources that way. That's how my system works. You guys will have to come to terms with if you're even willing to do a system outside of money. You know, maybe not. It's even what I'm talking about is right here. It's pretty controversial within the RBE environment. You know, there's a strong resistance to accounting in general.
Yes, I see that, and I think it's very detrimental. I've worked with Ubuntu, and I was immersed in a Ubuntu experiment in one location, and it was complete exploitation all the way down the line. And you know, people trying to get out of things, and people making out that they were working and they weren't working, and then everything just went completely haywire. Nobody had any integrity, really. And so it's just very disappointing. And what happens is without accounting, everything is left to the same people. And hangers on just hang on, you know.
And even when you reject accounting, what you end up doing is just using money. You know,
Yes, that's true.
and that's what the donations are about. You know, my philosophy about this stuff is that you should start small enough where you don't need to get dollar-based funding or capitalist funding. You just got to suck it up and do the little work that is available to you and your group, you know, in the immediate environment using your own accounting. Because whatever you build with capitalism, if you stop funneling capitalism into that thing, then it's going to go away. The only way that you're going to be able to build an organization on your own terms is with your own accounting, whatever that may be.
That makes sense.
I totally agree. And this one makes perfect sense. Now, really, I'm just going to say this, but capitalism wouldn't even be so bad if it wasn't for interest, because what happens is it creates such a huge, huge scarcity that we're all fighting for this little piece of the pie, you know. And so if interest wasn't created,
that would be better. But you're not going to fix capitalism. To fix capitalism would be to build a new system. So,
right. And that's what we're doing.
Right.
Right. Yeah. So I wanted to show Bridget my screen, and you're already familiar with this. You showed me yesterday, just to make you aware of this, Bridget. This one. And this is the categories, Jason, that you've done, right? And so you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 categories, and everything fits in that.
So far, I mean, I just did that on the fly.
Oh.
You know, I just made that up to let people know what was going on. So this is really the benefit of having accounting, is to let you know what's going on.
It's data. We need data.
Right. At some point, the information available that you're going to need to be making decisions is going to exceed what you can just sort of keep track of in your mind and with your immediate circle, right? You're going to need more information than that to be able to make some logical choices. And that's what the accounting system is for. And if you don't have it, you know, then what we see is you're back to asking for donations in money.
Yeah, I can see this where these will become like an accounting system, like general might be 001, service might be 002, you know, and it's all automated, and it just crunches the numbers in the end when you want to know how much was done, the volumes and what have you. So that's pretty straightforward, Jason. I don't know how to get back to, here we go. I don't see anything that anybody can't do. And like you said, if they don't do something else, then they're going to do capitalism. You know.
And that's what we see, isn't it?
That's exactly what we see.
People are, you know, you have communes and these initiatives that start, and they ignore the accounting, and then they can't grow the organization. They fall back into capitalism looking for donations.
Exactly. Now, Jason, so this is just something I'd like to ask you. Is this still on? I can't see you.
Yeah, I'm here.
What was I saying? Sorry, I couldn't get the screen I wanted. Hang on 1 second, sorry. Right, so I don't know if this makes much sense to you, but what if somebody does something for me and I appreciate it, I can give them numeros for that. That's how it works, right? So that's creating money, but it's money that I've got, that I get when I first started. And
yeah, so the issuance is free. That's the only thing that's free. So to use the system doesn't cost you anything. In fact, I've got an interesting little image for you guys. Let me see here, share screen. And here. All right, do you see my screen with the dollar and the numero?
Yep.
Okay,
Yes.
so I issue for free So you can see in the Numero sign, the total that it costs a community to use this service is 0. On the
Zero, yeah.
dollar side, if you use for every dollar ends up costing the community $2.39.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just for $1. So you can see as it gets bigger, the system charges you for its use.
Yes.
And that's that interest in the debt and the taxes and all the rest of that stuff that is taking all of that that power and resource from you guys. So it's just a number system, accounting. You don't have to pay into it. It shouldn't cost you anything. It's like a calculator.
Yeah. 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 So how long have we gone? We haven't gone too long, but that was really great. I had a ton of questions for you, Jason, but if I don't write them down, so I'm going to have to just email them to you, but it's okay to keep it brief at this
Sure.
time, and we'll keep up with you again soon. Bridget, did you have anything?
I still have a question. I have a question. So you want to start with NumeroSet. So there is no investment, nothing. What is happening then? How is it decided? What do you do? What should I do then to start using NumeroSet? Because there is no financial investment on my end, as far as I understand.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Well, you might want to say.
Can you see the screen with community building blocks?
Yes.
This is the type of thing that you'll be doing with each other. So you would figure out to start out, maybe you're going to offer your group 1 hour a month doing something, right? Just to the general group. So that would fall under transactions. And if you do a service for someone, they're going to record some points to your account to record that transaction. Now, if you get into bigger things, like I do some technology stuff with some people that have a ranch with meat and other things like that, then we get into trade agreements, the next one down, which is bigger product and service arrangements with an expectation of reciprocation, where you're going to be trading products and services back and forth, right? And then the markets are when you would have like a garage sale, right? It would be open to the public, and the people that come in that's where we sign up the new accounts and we transfer the goods to them immediately. Projects are the kinds of things where you have one person that wants to do something that's going to take others involved specifically to do it, like building a garden, right? So we can set up a program where we can record all of those transactions, so everyone doing the work is accounted for and everything is acknowledged. And then the last one, the social programs, are things where you have a group that wants to work with another entity, and we need to keep track of all of those individual transactions as a single unit. We create social programs for that. For instance, when I was working with Ubuntu, our group had a trade agreement with a conference room provider, and because we were a bunch of people acting as one, we created a social program to function within that trade agreement. So we do work for that guy, and in return, he lets us stay in his facility. It's got a lot of moving parts, but all of it gets accounted for.
Yes, I see.
The projects, you said you do a program for it. So do you have to set something up in NumeroSet for that, or is it just a discussion?
It's just figuring out who's going to get what for what, when, all that sort of thing. Doing a project usually involves multiple people in a single transaction environment, which is just a little more than a trade agreement or a regular transaction.
So what would you do in NumeroSet? Now, I'll just explain it to Bridget before I get to that. Bridget, all you have to do is to get into NumeroSet is to provide a email, and Jason will give you an account, and then you get so many credits, and then you can start transacting. You get credits as soon as you get in there.
I will get into it.
And then we can do an example, so you will have experienced the entire process.
So you will do it
automated.
Okay.
Yeah. So then, Jason, you're saying that with a project, what would be different? What would be the next step? If we're doing a project in NumeroSet, what would we do? For
instance, we had a painting crew, one of the groups I was working with, and the painting crew had a single point of entity who was working with who was going to have the thing painted. And there was 3 or 4 other people that were going to be involved in that. So the transaction had to go from the person receiving the work to that single person who was leading the crew, who would then take the points that he just received from the person doing the work and distribute those out further into the people who did the work. So a project has just got an extra layer of complexity more so than a transaction.
So what would you do in NumeroSet to create a project? Because I know about the units, the investment units.
Yep, the organizational units we use, and we use that for all of the other. I use organizational units for markets, projects, and social programs.
Yeah.
So if someone's going to be doing those, then we introduce the organizational unit so we can keep track of this stuff a little easier.
I'm still not clear of how the projects are any different. Like, I might have to think about it a while. Maybe
Well, if a regular transaction would be me giving you Numero. A project would be me giving you Numero with you responsible for distributing that even further into a crew that did work for you.
I see. Okay.
So it's another level of transactions that need to be accounted
Interesting.
for.
Okay, what do you have to do in
like
NumeroSet to do that?
Organizational units are 50 Numero a year, and you just got to let me know what you would like that to be, and then the email address that goes with it.
Yes, I started one up called Synergy Nation, and can't get anybody to bite it. But I haven't really been pushing it much. But so the projects go under the organizational units?
It's not like I think you're thinking of it as like nothing gets created in a software aspect.
Okay.
This is just how we organize the transactions, and a project transaction is has more complex pieces, you know, and who gets what, when, and why than a regular transaction does. And a market transactional environment is much bigger than a project transactional environment, and then the social program is even bigger than that.
So really the best thing is to just use it and get to feel for it. That's the same with everything, isn't it? Like,
yeah. So what you would want to do is figure out something simple that you would be willing to do for someone else, like clean something or move something. Like, hey, I'll wash your car, you know, and for 20 Numero an hour. Okay. Everyone's got free Numero, so no big deal. It's just practice time. So you do that. The other person does the transaction to you. Hey, great. And they're like, hey, I'd like you to do that maybe twice a year. And they're like, well, maybe you could wash my windows. Okay. So then we're going to do transactions for each of those activities. And that would be a trade agreement where there's an expectation of reciprocation between the two people. So you can do more than just 1 hour a month. And you start accumulating the amount of time that you're willing to put into your group based on the information you're getting from using NumeroSet.
Yes. And what defines the value of when you say, oh, it's 20 numerals? What is defining the value then of one numero?
Nothing in reality. We just decided that 1 Numero would be the equivalent of 1 tomato, and 20 Numero would be the equivalent of 1 hour as a standard reference. So someone could say, yeah, I know the standard reference is 20 Numero an hour, but I do not feel like doing this. And if you really want me to do it, it's going to be 100. Well, now you're in a negotiation state with that person if you want to do that.
Of course. Yeah.
Speaking about value, with value, that can change over time. Maybe we'll find something of value to associate each Numero unit on. Later, much later.
I think people are going to kind of make up their own, you know, they'll start, all we need, with the reference point of 1 Numero equals a tomato, now you have a starting point to have a discussion, which could, you know, result in a negotiation for some activity. So all you need is the reference. Some people are only going to use that, like me, right? I am a firm believer in equality. And if 20 Numero an hour is a standard reference, then that's what I do, is I do my transactions for 20 Numero. I've got friends of mine that are pretty, you know, still real pleased with the corporate capitalist world, right? They're still doing their thing. but they want to play the Numero game too. And they're like, well, I'm going to charge whatever I want. And it's like, well, okay, you know, I mean, if I think it's ridiculous, I won't do it. And if it's okay, then sure, you know. So there's a spectrum of people that can use this type of thing.
Mm-hmm. Yes. But I think with your system, the money, the Numero supply would not be increased anyway if it was worked the capitalist way, you know, because you don't have this speculation aspect also.
That's
so
right.
I think that's a good way to prevent abuse of the system.
It kind of handles itself, yeah. And that's the equal distribution part. You know, in capitalism, you've got a small handful of people who start with all the money. They create it for themselves, and they loan it out to their friends, and then it trickles down the channels of the pyramid like that. But with Numero, everyone just gets it up front. It's there, it's immediate. There's no hierarchy that has to be filtered through, you know, to try to get access to money. It's equally distributed.
Mm-hmm. I like that. Yeah, good.
Yeah, I hope it grows. I think it'll be a fantastic system to get off money, and we can just cut it off, right? You know.
Well, I tell you what, it's practical immediately.
Right.
As soon as you start doing some transactions with 2 or 3 people, you're like, oh, you know, now I can, if nothing else, I'm saving my money to use elsewhere. You know. And, so it's practical right away. It's if you've got more than 2 people.
Thanks, Jason. So unless you got anything else to add, guys?
No, that's fine. I have enough information for now, and but I will try to be nicer with Jason, because I want to teach him about the Democrats and the Republicans. But I will stop that, Jason. I think you are a good guy.
Oh, thanks.
Yes.
Well, I don't agree with politics at all, and I'm always trying to talk Jason out of it. But you know, like everybody, we're all
we're all on the same page. And politics is the muckety muck of the world for sure. But I believe in equal distribution economics, and the Medicare for All plan was a significant step in that direction, and I supported that plan, and that happened to be championed by Bernie Sanders. So I went ahead and put my ego aside and my privilege aside, and I voted for Bernie. But now that he's out, I'm out, and I'm back to doing this stuff.
Well, you know, one thing I think it would be good for NumeroSet is the alternative medical, not medical, but healers. They could be using NumeroSet, and people can afford their services, and we can start, you know, building up an economy of our own. We did it for capitalism. Why not do it for ourselves?
That's right. That's right. You just figure out how much you're willing to give people for free. Start out with like an hour a month, and you just start building from there.
Yeah, I hope we take it up. Thanks a lot, Jason, for being available.
Okay, Jason. Yes, thank you.
Yep, nice chatting with you guys.
Bye-bye.
Catch you soon, Jason. See you, Bridget. Bye,
See you.
bye, folks.